Hello Jedi, Sith, Rebels, and Imps, BJ Porter of the Porter Report here. Before we go any further, I just want to say to you all, Happy Star Wars Day! I hope every single one of you is having an amazing and eventful May the 4th. As a massive Star Wars fan myself, I look forward to this day every single year. It is always fun to do activities and link up with other like-minded fans as we highlight and celebrate the franchise's past, present, and future. And the latter statement, future, seems to be the perfect word to use at this point, because that is exactly what I want to talk about today. 2026 is about to be a huge year for Star Wars because it's going to see the franchise return to a place it hasn't been in quite some time. That place, of course, being the big screen. The very foundation of people's love for Star Wars began in the cinema on that fateful day in the summer of 1977. So it is high time that it returned to its roots, as it ushers in a brand new era of cinematic storytelling. So in today's video, I wanted to take a moment and put a spotlight on the upcoming theatrical Star Wars projects that are on the horizon this year and in the years that follow. Of course, I'll talk about the ones that are already in the chamber and confirmed, but I will also briefly talk about the ones that could potentially still be on the table. The Force is growing stronger every day, so let's let it in and talk about it. Those of you out there who are eagerly awaiting Star Wars' return to theaters, I'm happy to let you know that you're not going to have to wait too much longer. The new cinematic era of the franchise is just about ready to kick off, with The Mandalorian and Grogu, which is set to release on Memorial Day weekend a couple of weeks from now. After establishing themselves as powerhouses on Disney+, the Clan of Two take their adventures to an even bigger stage in the first theatrical Star Wars film in over half a decade. Taking place shortly after Season 3 of the streaming series, Din Djarin and Grogu embark on a large-scale journey that sees them confronting the surviving members of the Hutt cartel, as well as the remaining members of the Imperial Remnant. With the help of a New Republic regime who senses the brewing of potentially another full-scale war against the remains of an empire eager to strike back, Din and Grogu find themselves at a crossroads that will test their bond, and also put into perspective what is truly worth fighting for. Series creator and Disney legend Jon Favreau leads the film as director, with Lucasfilm's new CCO Dave Filoni joining him as screenwriter. The busiest man in Hollywood, Pedro Pascal, returns to the role of Din Djarin, with Sigourney Weaver making her franchise debut as a Delphi base leader, Colonel Ward. The film also features the live-action theatrical debut of Zeb Orrelios from the animated show Star Wars Rebels, once again voiced by the legendary Steve Blum, and also features the Bear's Jeremy Allen Young as the voice of Rada the Hutt, who first appeared as an infant in the first season of Star Wars The Clone Wars. Somebody's been clearly drinking his blue milk because Buddy is looking swole. As I mentioned earlier, The Mandalorian and Grogu starts a new era of cinematic storytelling for Star Wars. That said, the film finds itself in a very peculiar position heading into its upcoming release. Din and Grogu have without question been the faces of modern Star Wars for the entirety of the 2020s. But as they head into this new chapter, myself and other fans are asking this very legitimate question. What will this movie truly give us that we wouldn't just get from a new season of the Disney Plus series? To be clear, I am not trying to discourage bringing Mando and Grogu's next adventure to theaters. All I'm saying is that I don't want their next adventure to be a condensed version of television but in film form. To be fair, however, Jon Favreau and company are taking the necessary steps to ensure that The Mandalorian and Grogu is tailor-made for the cinematic experience in a way that watching it on a streaming service cannot replicate. From building larger scale sets to shooting the film in the IMAX format, steps are absolutely being taken to make sure that this Star Wars adventure is worthy enough to be seen on the big screen. The other thing to keep in mind is what The Mandalorian and Grogu could potentially set up in regards to this section of the Star Wars timeline. We are at a point where the Imperial Remnant is starting to gain some traction and footing as they prepare to strike back against the New Republic. While a good amount of the members of the New Republic Navy, including Ward and the Adelphi Rangers, are more than aware of the growing threat, the urgency and the need for the Senate and the primary military to take action and prepare continues to climb, especially knowing that one of the Empire's best leaders is back on the playing field. While there is a good chance that this film could still primarily be about the relationship between Din and Grogu, seeds could still be planted to further set the foundation of a large-scale showdown with the ghost of Empire's past. Regardless of the optics surrounding this film and its conception, I'm just over the moon that a new generation of Star Wars fans get to experience a galaxy far, far away for the first time on the big screen. While I see nothing wrong with experiencing Star Wars on a streaming service, nothing will beat seeing this universe in the medium where it truly made its mark on the world. The film's release will be here before you know it, so for those of you out there still looking to get tickets, I took the liberty of providing ticket sale links in the description. But now let's transition from the near future to the far future and get a small little glimpse at what's in store for Star Wars next year in 2027. If you are already in the know within the Star Wars fandom, you already know that 2027 is going to be huge for the franchise, because that year just so happens to be Star Wars' 50th anniversary. And I really don't like how old that just made me feel. The franchise's half-centennial is truly going to be a monumental celebration that I'm sure is going to have so many things on tap to celebrate a galaxy far, far away. One of the biggest things, of course, is the upcoming re-release of the one that started it all, Star Wars A New Hope, back in theaters. Celebrating the franchise by doing something like this is obviously a no-brainer, especially when you think about the impact that this film in particular has had on pop culture and just culture in general since its release. This is also a perfect opportunity for those who are used to seeing the film at home to see it on the big screen for the first time. No word yet on whether the version we're getting is the 1990 special edition or the untouched version from '77. Me personally, I think getting the original untouched version on the big screen would be an incredible victory lap for those who have been waiting to see that version for decades. The film's re-release is dated for February 19th, 2027, and will be in theaters for only a limited time. More details will obviously come out as we get closer to that date. While we're on the subject of celebrating Star Wars' past, it should be noted that 2027 will see us stepping into the future in the form of a brand new entry in the franchise. Set for Memorial Day weekend of that year, the next film in the franchise offers us a new story, new characters, and a new section of the timeline to explore with the release of Star Wars Starfighter. The upcoming standalone film is directed by Sean Levy, whose extensive resume speaks for itself. The notable films he's worked on include Free Guy, Netflix's The Atom Project, Real Steel, the Night at the Museum trilogy, and the MCU smash hit Deadpool and Wolverine. As for the talent in front of the camera, the film is said to be led by Academy Award nominee Ryan Gosling, putting him in yet another space escapade following his incredible performance in this past March's Project Hail Mary. Hey, give the man credit, he's clearly coming in qualified. Alongside Gosling is newcomer Flynn Gray, whose character seems to be accompanying Gosling throughout the adventure. The rest of the ensemble is comprised of a slew of veteran talent including Amy Adams, Mia Goth, Matt Smith, and Aaron Pierre, just to name a few. Regarding the film's story and setting, the only thing we know as of now is that this film takes place about 5 years after the Battle of Exegol seen in Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker. As with all films of this scale and magnitude, details are scarce and hard to come by. That said, not to speculate too much, there is a chance that this film could be pilot-centric given that it has Starfighter in the title. Also, I think it's worth mentioning that the film's cinematographer is the same one that worked on Top Gun Maverick. Not saying that's confirming anything, just something to think about. Out of the next two Star Wars films that are set to drop, with the other being Mando and Grogu, Starfighter is admittedly the one that has me the most intrigued and excited. More so for the newness factor given that it takes place in an unexplored section of Star Wars canon. People have grown with Din and Grogu for 6 years in an era filled with familiarity. A story like this taking place in this new setting and with these new characters offers not just an entry point for newcomers, but it also gives Sean Levy a blank canvas to work with. I look forward to learning more about this movie as we get closer and going on this potential high-speed adventure with this new duo. Other than The Mandalorian and Grogu and Starfighter, any cinematic projects after those two movies are either still in development or still waiting to get off the ground. A few of those said films were announced a couple of years ago, but have been radio silent since then. Several of the projects that have yet to take off is the biblical epic-esque Dawn of the Jedi movie that is said to be helmed by Logan director James Mangold, and a cinematic culmination event film featuring characters from the New Republic era directed by Dave Filoni. In addition to that, there is also the new Jedi Order film that is directed by Charmin Orbay-Chinoy that is supposed to see the return of Daisy Ridley to the role of Rey. What is interesting about this film is the fact that it takes place 15 years after the end of The Rise of Skywalker, and 10 years after Star Wars Starfighter coming out next year. I'm not saying in any way, shape, or form that these two films are connected, but there could be an opportunity for Starfighter to lay the groundwork for that film if it ever becomes reality. Obviously, this perspective is coming from somebody who's in wait-and-see mode, but I'm holding on to optimism that these projects that were previously announced will start to see the light of day. All in all, guys, the fact that we're talking about Star Wars being in theaters again is absolutely surreal and also incredibly exciting. It has been so long since we have been able to have this type of discussion, and it is really awesome that the franchise is returning to its original stomping grounds. While I am sure that everybody is excited about the potential movies we could get years from now, I implore you to heed this lesson from Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Be mindful of the future, but not at the expense of the moment. At the moment, we have a Star Wars film that is set to come out in a couple of weeks, the original 1977 classic returning to theaters for its 50th anniversary, and a brand new Star Wars film on the way in a fresh new timeline with new characters. And you know the even crazier part? That's not even including the incredible things coming to Star Wars in live-action television, gaming, and animation. One thing is definitely for certain. The Force is very well about to be reawakened, and I'm confident it will be as strong as it's ever been. But on that note, I now want to kick it over to you guys. Head down into the comments below and give me your most anticipated Star Wars cinematic project. Regardless whether it's confirmed or not, I truly want to hear what you want to see from Star Wars on the big screen. Make sure to keep it locked to the channel for all coverage surrounding Mando and Grogu, Star Wars Starfighter, and all future Star Wars films that are set to come out in the years that follow. Buckle up, everybody, because we have a brand new era of Star Wars cinematic storytelling on the horizon, and believe me when I tell you, this is where the fun begins. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and tell a friend to stop on by. by. I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of their May the 4th, and until next time, I'm BJ Porter of the Porter Report, wishing you all a happy Star Wars Day, and remember, the Force will be with you always.